Welcome to this tutorial where we will be looking at how to or to design a foundation in 3D for the building we have produced. To do that, we're going to be using a copy of the building that we had already made. Before doing that though, it is always good to make a copy, and so I'm going to be making a copy of the copy, so to speak. It's always good to have one perhaps as a spare, so to speak. But I'm going to be using this one, so let me zoom that into view. Alright, which is actually my middle one, so it's going to be this one. To do that, I'm going to be using these to represent my sub walls. Now, these are intended to be the walls that are going to be below floor level. And so from floor level to foundation, I'm going to want a height of 4 feet. So I'm going to reduce these walls to 4 feet heights. And so I'm selecting all my walls. And from my property, I'm going to give height of 1200. Alright, so I'm going to give height of 1200. When I select on my screen, my walls would have reduced to heights of 1200. And these will be the portion of the building which is below ground level, or below floor level rather. Now at the base of that, those walls are supposed to be sitting on a strip of concrete, or on strips of concrete, and so we're going to be putting in those strips of concrete. To do that, I do that from my 0 layer, so I ensure that I am actually on my 0 layer. Alright, so I'm on my 0 layer, and I'm going to be using rectangles, and I'm going to be drawing rectangles in all my rectangular spaces. In other words, what we want to do is to achieve polyline in order to offset our foundation width. And so rectangle is the quickest polyline to cover all lines. And so all rooms that are rectangular in shape, I'm going to be giving a rectangle on each. Alright, so I select that corner. All you have to do is to select diagonal corners, and the rectangle would have been drawn there. So all rooms that are rectangular in shapes, I'm giving a rectangle. I give a rectangle here. This living dining room, a rather large one, but also a rectangle. That rectangle has gone over. Let me escape, and let me just select that rectangle and move that back to this line. Alright, I'm back in my rectangle command. Let's give a rectangle here. Now this room is not a rectangle in shape, and so I'm going to leave that for a bit. I'll come back to that in just 1 second. But I'm trying to complete all the rooms that are rectangular in shape. Now we're left with these 2 rooms that are not rectangle, and so what I'm going to be doing is to use polyline. What that would do is to give me a continuous line similar to a rectangle, the properties of a rectangle, just that the shape would have been different. But all lines would have already been connected as one entity. And so that's one polyline, and another polyline, this one. Alright, so I'm going around the entire room. Alright, so there we would have had all our rooms having polyline. We do that because we would want to now offset the foundation dimensions on the inside. Usually a foundation width is expected to be minimum 3 times the wall thickness, and so what we would want to achieve are lines the same. Since these are 150 millimeters, we would want at least 150 millimeters on the inside as well as on the outside. We are, however, only going to be doing the inside, because when we do our slab, we will give our slab the requisite overhang, and that will be responsible for the portion that is protruding. All right. Now, I'm not the minimum type of person, and so I'm going to give mine an offset of 225, which is actually 9 inches as opposed to 6 inches. I'm going for 9 inches. Alright, so all the lines we have put in, we are now polylining, offsetting them, and that's the basic reason we had put them, so as to have something to offset from. We wouldn't want to be offsetting the wall, because the wall comes with its own thickness, and so what we want are just lines. Alright, so I'm careful to ensure that I offset them on the inside. Alright, so it seems I have done them all. That was pretty quick. Alright, now what we want to do is to basically delete or remove the ones we had put on our walls. We had only put them, so like I said, so as to have something to offset from. And so now I'm selecting and removing just the ones on the walls. I'm not removing the ones we have offsetted, just the ones we have offsetted from. Alright, so I didn't get that one. Got it now. Here is another one. I think we have a few more on this side. And one more. Here it is. Alright, now that I have deleted those, now this represents the foundation width on the inside. Alright, now I'm going to be creating a layer on which to put my foundation footing slab. If we just draw it on slab, then it would have been drawn on the regular floor slab, and I would rather that slab be in a separate slab. I would want to be able to control that slab separate from the floor slab. And so to do that, I'm going to go over to my layers properties, and let me open my layers manager, and just below a slab I'm going to be creating a new one. So let's go for new. Notice I deliberately created it below that because I wanted the same color. The only thing I wanted change was the line type. Alright, and so I'm going to be calling this layer foundations in abbreviation FDN. Alright, let's go FDN dot slab. So I'm going to be calling it foundation slab. Alright, and I'm going to be changing the line type from a continuous, and I would want it to be in a hidden type, and so I'm going to be choosing hidden 2. I give a OK. Alright, and we would have our foundation layer being created. It closed before I got a chance to make it current, so let me reselect that and make it my current layer. Alright, now I can close that. Now my foundation slab is now my current layer. Now what we're going to be doing now is to use slab to draw polyline around the entire building. So I go for slab, and it's not going to be slab because it's going to be sitting on the floor or under the floor, so it's slab, and we give thickness. I'm going to give a foundation thickness or a foundation footing thickness of 1 foot. So I'm going for 300. Alright, we want an overhang the same amount that we had offset on the inside, and because I had done a 225, I'm going to go with a 225 overhang as well. With those settings, I'm going to be picking around the building. So I'm going to be picking from this point, and I'm going all around this building. we could have chosen to give our foundation footing a different color. Alright, but for now I'm maintaining the purple. I'm being careful to select my corners properly as I pick around the building. You are not seeing the overhang just now, but when we get to the end and give that enter, you will realize that an overhang would have been included. Sometimes you have to zoom in closely to ensure you are hitting the real spot. Now when I give an enter, it should have given me my overhang of 225. For some strange reason I was not given. I might have to include those manually. Alright, that's not an issue. I'm just going to be dragging that off 225. Let's give an enter. I'm certain that I had typed that. I'm not certain as to why I was not given that. I'm going to be pulling them off manually. It's not a whole lot, so I'm going to be just giving my overhang manually of 225, and I'm going to be doing so right around the building. And so there are many ways to get the same operation done, and so if you try one way and that particular method doesn't work, it's always useful to know of alternatives. So I'm going to be pulling all my foundation on the outside as well, because the wall should be sitting in the center of that trench, and what I'm now creating is actually the trench, or the foundation footing, so to speak. I think I have just a few more. I give a 225. Wow, it's more than it seemed. Alright, and I think this be my 225. Now where am I in terms of completing? I'm not seeing the end just yet. 225. I think I have just one more to go, and I think that would be this one. Yes. Alright, so there, let me give an escape, and we would now realize that the foundation footing is now included on our foundation walls. You would also have noticed though that the concrete was cast in the entire area and not just under the walls as we would have wanted. And so to do that, we're going to be subtracting or adding holes in that slab. And that's the purpose of these rectangles, basically, are to give us the profiles of those holes. To do that, we select the slab. So let's give a select, and we're going up to hole. Click on that, and we're going to be adding holes. The holes we would want to be adding in those slabs are basically the polylines or the rectangles we had created. So we are going to be selecting those profiles, because these closed polylines are now going to be the holes in the slab. So I'm selecting all rectangles or polylines. When I have the last one, I give an enter. AutoCAD says, do you want us to erase the layout geometry? We give a yes, so it can remove those white polylines for us. Then we give an escape, and we would now realize that the foundation has now been completed. Alright, and so later on what we would basically do is to move that footing and join that underneath the rest of the structure. But we're not ready for that, as there are certain views to be extracted first. But at least we would have had our foundation footing now complete. I realize, however, that my footing walls are not displayed in a hidden detail as was requested. I am certain, however, that on sheet they would have been displayed as a hidden detail. All right, and so that would have been our foundation footing created in 3Ds. All right, thanks a lot for watching, and stay tuned for our next tutorial.